Okay, students, once again, welcome to the first online class of organization leadership. Students, am I audible to you? Can you see the slide? Can anyone reply yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, in this subject, basically, we'll try to understand the meaning of leadership and what role does a leader play in an organization in order to take the organization to the next level. So, leadership obviously will play a very, very vital role in any organization for that sake. So, in this particular unit, that is in organizational leadership, we'll try to introduce the concept of leadership. We'll try to understand the various, the history of leadership basically from 1930s till date. So, how the transformation of leadership has happened. So, first, we will understand the definition of a leader. So, leadership is the kindly mute your audio, students. Am I audible to you? Can anyone reply yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first we'll understand the definition of leadership. A leadership is the influencing process of leaders and followers to achieve organizational objectives through change. Now you can see the flow chart over there. A follower is a person who is being influenced by a leader. A follower can be a manager or a non-manager. So students, good followers are not yes people. You understand what I'm saying? The good followers are simply, they'll not say yes, who simply follow the leader without giving input that influences the leader. So in short, what we can say is effective leaders influence the followers and their followers influence them. So throughout this subject, we will try to understand what role does a leader play in any organization in order to influence the people, and we'll try to understand some of the attributes of a good leader in the organization. So we use the term behavior when referring to the activities of the people or the things they do. So here, if you can see the flow chart over there, so we have a leadership. There are a lot of things over there in the flow chart. What you can see: influence, organizational objectives, people, change, and leaders, followers. Now, when I use the word influence, see, influencing is the process of a leader communicating ideas, gaining acceptance of them, and motivating followers to support and implement the ideas through a change. See, always what we say, students, change is the only constant, right? So, in this rapidly changing technology era, we have to we have to be adaptable. A leader should be adaptable to any environment. So, influence is the essence of leadership. So, influencing is also about the relationship between a leader and a follower. So, leaders gain the commitment and enthusiasm of followers who are willing to be influenced. So, please understand the technical definition of a leadership. A leadership is the influencing process of leaders and followers to achieve what? To achieve organizational objectives. That is very important. To achieve organizational objectives through a change. Now, students, can anyone tell me what do you mean by organizational objectives? See, organizational objective is what effective leaders they influence followers. All of you know that to think not only of their own interest, but even the interest of the organization. So leadership occurs when followers are influenced to do what is ethical and beneficial for the organization and themselves. See, taking the advantage of followers for personal gain is not a part of leadership. Please, I'm repeating once again, students. Taking the advantage of followers for personal gain is not a part of leadership. So, members of the organization need to work together toward an outcome that the leader and followers both want, a desired future or the shared purpose that motivates them toward this more preferable outcome. So what we can say here is leaders need to provide the direction. With the input of followers, they set challenging objectives and the lead the charge ahead to achieve them. So that is what you mean by organizational objectives. Then when we come to the next part, that is people. In the flow chart over there, if you can see the flow chart over there is one more entity over there called as people. See, people is 1 minute. Someone. Yeah. Okay, people. When we speak about people, people is not specifically, you cannot mention in our in any definition of leadership. But effective leaders and followers enjoy working with people and helping them succeed. Right. So there was a question like, are leaders born or made? The answer could be neither and both. See, effective leaders are not simply born or made, they are born with some leadership ability and develop it. I am repeating once again. So, if you ask me, sir, are leaders born or made? The very tricky question. The answer is neither and both. See, effective leaders are not simply born or made, they are born with some leadership ability and develop it. So, natural ability may offer advantages or disadvantages to a leader, right? See, legendary football coach, that is Vince Lombardi, once said, contrary to the opinion of many people, leaders are not born, leaders are made, and they are made by effort and hard work. We are all leaders, and all people have potential leadership skills. So, will you agree with me? All people today have potential leadership skills. So, whatever your natural leadership ability is now, you can invest in developing your leadership skills, or even you can allow them to remain as they are now. You may never become the CEO of a large business, but you can improve your leadership ability through this particular subject. Now, after understanding all these points about the leadership, that is, leadership is the influencing process of leaders and followers to achieve the organizational objectives through change. Now we'll understand. Kindly see the slide over there. So I've basically explained you leaders, followers. A follower is a person who is being influenced by a leader. A follower can be a manager or a no manager. So effective leaders influence followers and their followers influence them, right? And I even explained you the term called as influence here. Influencing is the process of a leader communicating ideas, gaining acceptance. That is very important, students. You have to gain the acceptance from all the followers, and even motivating the followers to support and implement the ideas through a change. So influence is the essence of leadership, which includes power, politics, and negotiating. And leaders gain the commitment and enthusiasm of followers who are willing to be influenced. See, there will be a lot of questions like, can leadership skills be developed? Or can you develop your leadership skills through, through any course or something like that? It only happens to practice, a lot of experience. See, the well-known management guru Peter Drucker, who has been a consultant to GE and other organizations around the globe, he always says that the performance of the managerial leadership determines the success or failure of the organization. I'm repeating the word, students. The success or the failure, it majorly depends on the performance of the managerial leadership. So in the United States, 60% of the employees believe that their organizations are not well managed, and 77% are not happy with their jobs. The number one reason that employees stay or leave is or how they are treated by their leaders. So thus it is hard to overstate the importance of leadership. Okay. So if you ask me, in the United States, why is GE so successful today? The company GE is so successful today. So GE is also known as the company that develops leaders. So more executives from GE have developed leadership skills and then gone to become CEOs of other major firms than from any other company. So a major reason that Jack the Welch is admired by others is his commitment to developing leaders and his ability to do so. So one of the reasons Jack Welch left GE was to work about half as many hours. He wanted to cut down to around 40 hours a week. As a consultant, Jack Welch is still building leaders as a confidant to CEOs and corporate coach, as well as becoming an author. Okay. Now, even we try to understand in that flowchart organizational objectives, which means that effective leaders influence followers to think not only of their own interest, but also of the interest of the organization through a shared vision. So leadership occurs when followers are influenced to do what is ethical and even beneficial for the organization and even for themselves. So leaders need to provide direction, but the group should set it goals. That is very important. Now, always remember this word called as change. Change is the only constant in this universe. So influencing and setting objectives is about change. Organizations, they need to continually change in the adapting to the rapidly changing global environment. So leadership involves influencing followers to bring about change toward a desired future for the organization. Students, I'm referring the book which is recommended by the university, that is Lucia. All your 6 units are covered in this book, which is available in the department library. Okay, so Lucia is the book which you have to refer for this particular subject, and all the materials whatever I have prepared is from the book. Now we'll move to the next slide, that is people. As I mentioned, people is not specifically mentioned in our definition when it comes to leadership, correct? See, you should realize that leadership is about leading people. Effective leaders and followers enjoy working with people and helping them succeed. Though there is, students, little evidence that being a mean, tough manager is associated with the leadership success. It is basically, students, the collective efforts of people that make things happen. Now we'll try to understand some of the attributes of leadership. See, leadership is an important function of management which helps to maximize the efficiency and to achieve organizational goals. Students, once again, I want to ask you, am I audible to everyone? Can anyone reply yes, sir? Are you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay, perfect. Now we'll try to understand some of the points that justify the importance of leadership in a concern. See, according to you, a leadership quality, a person whom do you see as a leader in an organization or in a country or in a state? A leader is one who initiates action, who should be action oriented. A leader is one who motivates his team. A leader is one who provides guidance to his followers. Or a leader is one who creates confidence among each and everyone. So confidence building is very, very important when it comes to leadership. A leader is one who builds morale. Then a good working environment should be built by a leader. Then very, very important is teamwork. See, a leader will never consider himself as a separate entity. He will be always implementing a participative style. See, when we say about initiative action or initiates action, it is nothing but taking prompt action to accomplish objectives. So taking action to achieve goals beyond what is required, being proactive. And a leader is one who responds quickly. He takes immediate action when confronted with a problem. So always we say, students, that success has got many parents. If something success happens, many will come to claim that it is because of me, it is because of me, it is because of me. But a leader is one who will tell when the success happens that it is because of my team. And when failure happens, a leader is one, he will take the complete responsibility on him. So we say success has got many parents, but failure is always an orphan. But a true leader is one who will take the blame on himself when the failure happens. And when the success happens, he will give the complete credit to the team. Right? Then the second point over there, that is called as motivation. Motivation, it is a process of stimulating people to actions to accomplish the goals. In the work goal context, the psychological factors stimulating the people's behavior can be desired for money. Right? So these are some of the points that needs to be understood by the followers. A good leader is one who initiates action. A good leader is one who motivates the team, who provides guidance for his team. And when the tough times are there, when there is a problem, immediately a leader is one who will jump into the situation. He builds morale, who is loyal, who is ethical, who takes the responsibility of a failure, who always thinks about the team. The safety is very important for him. Right? So a leadership is an important function of management which helps to maximize the efficiency and to achieve organizational goals. Now, students, this is very, very important, the roles of a leader. So this is again one of the very important thing what you need to understand. What roles does a leader play? The first one, as you can see over there, is interpersonal roles. There we have figurehead. We'll try to understand each thing, okay? Figurehead, leader, liaison. Then we have informational roles, wherein we have monitor, disseminator, and spokesperson. Then last but not the least, we have decisional roles, wherein we have entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, and negotiator. Now we will try to take each one and understand what are these interpersonal roles of a leader, informational roles, and decisional roles. First, we will go for interpersonal roles. See, the moment I say interpersonal roles, that means within, okay? The true meaning of this interpersonal is when it comes to any organization, for that sake, It covers the relationships that a manager has to have with others. So there are three roles within this category are figurehead, leader, and liaison. So manager need to act as a figurehead because of their formal authority and symbolic position representing their organization. So what do you mean by figurehead role? Leaders perform the figurehead role when they represent the organization or department in legal, social, ceremonial, and even symbolic activities. Top level managers are usually viewed as figureheads for their organization. However, leaders throughout the organization perform the activities like figurehead. Whom do you call figurehead? One who signs the official documents like expense authorization, checks, vouchers, contracts, and one who entertains the clients or customers as official representatives and receiving or escorting official visitors, one who informally talking to people and attending outside meetings as an organizational representative, then one who presides at meetings and ceremonial events, award ceremonies, retirement dinners, and so on. So figurehead, what we are studying now, we are trying to understand the interpersonal roles. In this, the first point is figurehead. So leaders perform the figurehead role when they represent the organization or department in legal, social, ceremonial, and symbolic activities. That is what I've mentioned here. You can see here in the next slide, all of you. Figurehead role, they represent the organization or department in legal, social, ceremonial, and symbolic activities. Then the second role is leader role. You can see the slide here, students. What we are studying now under the heading interpersonal roles. What they are managerial roles. Okay. See, leader role. According to Mintzberg, the leader role is that of performing the management functions to effectively operate the manager's organization unit. Therefore, the leader role pervades all managerial behavior. The leader role influences how the leader performs other roles. Like, the roles could be hiring and training, giving instructions and coaching, then evaluating the performance of the people to whom they're working under him. Then the third role would be liaison role. See, leaders perform the liaison role when they interact with people, please understand, outside their organizational unit. So liaison behavior includes networking to develop a relationship and gain information and favors. So organizational politics is an important part of the liaison role. This includes networking to develop relationships and even gain information and favors. Some of the justifications or examples could be serving on committees with members from outside the organizational unit, attending professional or trade association meetings, calling and meeting with people to keep in touch. So these are the three roles, the managerial roles under interpersonal roles. Now, next we will try to understand the informational roles. In information roles, there were three parts. Three roles basically of a manager. The first one was monitor role, then disseminator role, then spokesperson role. So first we will try to understand the informational role. So leaders perform the monitor role when they gather the information, right? So this role is gathering information, basically monitor role. See, most of the information is analyzed to discover problems and opportunities and to even understand the events outside the organizational unit. Students, one thing is very much sure, that if you do not know what is happening outside the organization, then whatever you are manufacturing or giving services might be outdated. So you do not know basically what your competitors are doing, right? So the first thing is the information should be gathered, and that information should be analyzed to discover the problems and the opportunities to understand the events outside the organizational unit. So some of the information is passed on to the other people in the organizational unit or to people outside the unit. So how the information will be gathered basically? So reading memos, reports, or trade publications, newspapers, and so forth. Talking to others, attending meetings inside and outside the organization, and so forth. Or it could be observing. So visiting a competitor store to compare the products, the prices, and even business processes, right? So monitor role is what? Basically, a monitor, this role is basically to gather the information about the competitors, what they do, what they manufacture, and convey the same to your organization, the people who are working on the same process. And the second type of role is called as disseminator role. The leaders perform the disseminator role when they send information to others in the organizational unit. So managers have access to information that is not available to employees. And some of the information that comes from higher levels of the management must be passed on to the employees either in its original form or paraphrased. So information is passed on to both the forms, either orally through voicemail, or you can have a group meetings, or a written through email, right? So that is what is disseminator role is. That is disseminator. Leaders perform the disseminator role when they send information to others in the organizational unit. So managers basically will be having the access to the information that is not available to the employees, right? Then the third type of role is called as spokesperson role. See, leaders perform the spokesperson role when they provide information to people outside the organizational unit. People must report information to their boss or manager. It can be board of directors or owners or the managers and people outside the organizational unit. See, when I say outside the organizational unit, it can be other departments, customers, suppliers. So leaders lobby and serve as a public relations representatives for their organizational unit. It can be, example could be meeting with the boss to discuss the performance, and with the budget officer to discuss the unit budget, then answering the letters, then reporting information to the government. Then we have the third heading that is called as decisional roles. Now, as the name only suggests, the decisional leadership roles, it includes entrepreneur, disturbance handler, a resource allocator, and a negotiator. Students, whom do you call an entrepreneur? See, leaders always perform the entrepreneur role when they innovate and initiate improvements in the organization. Leaders often get ideas for improvements through the monitor role. So some of the examples include developing new or improved products and services, developing new ways to process products and services, or purchasing new equipment in the organization. So when we speak about the decisional roles, the first one is entrepreneur role over there. Leaders perform the entrepreneur role when they innovate and initiate the improvements in the organization. So leaders often they get ideas for the improvements through the monitor role. See, for example, the leadership managerial roles does CEO Jeff, like all the managers who are good leaders, Jeff plays all 10 roles and he delegates these roles to his followers. So a good leader is one who is also good in taking decisions, also a good feasible decision which should not harm his followers. Okay, you can see the next slide over there, the disturbance handler role. Leaders perform the disturbance handler role when they take corrective action during the crisis or even conflict situations. So, unlike the planned action of the entrepreneur role to take the advantage of an opportunity, the disturbance is a reaction to an unexpected event, that is a risky event that creates a problem. So, what could be some of the risky events, like a union strike can happen, or the breakdown of important machines or equipment can happen, or needed material arriving late. Some of the materials which are about to arrive today, so due to some disturbance in the supply chain, it can come next week, and due to has to meet a tight schedule, right? So a disturbance handler deciding what is done now, done later, and not done, that is time management and priorities has to be set. Then determining who gets overtime or a merit rise, that is budgeting. Then scheduling when employees will use material and equipment. Then the last type of role, when it comes to the monitor role, the informational roles, or the roles of a manager, that is the negotiator role. So what do you mean by negotiator role? Leaders perform the negotiator role when they represent their organizational unit during routine and non-routine transactions that do not include set bound arises. So when they represent their organizational unit during routine and non-routine transactions that do not include set boundaries. So when I say that, such as only one price and the term of a sale or purchase for a product or service or pay of an employee. So example could be pay and benefits package for a new professional employee or manager. Normally, the negotiation role also takes place over there. Then labor union contract. Then contract with the customer, that is sale, or supplier, that is purchase. So what we understood now, so we understood the three major managerial roles, that is interpersonal roles, informational roles, and decisional roles. So in case of interpersonal roles, we try to understand figurehead, leader, liaison. Then informational roles, we understood monitor, disseminator, and spokesperson. And decisional roles, we understood entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, and negotiator roles. Now, this is very important, students. Leadership theory paradigms. So basically, in this particular thing, we'll try to understand the phases. So the first thing we need to do is define the important concepts when it comes to leadership theory paradigms. A leadership theory is an explanation of some aspect of leadership. Theories have practical value because they are used to better understand, predict, and even control the successful leadership. And even students, it has been said that there is nothing as practical as a good theory. Now, this is one of the important part of this particular unit to understand the history of the leadership. Okay, so there are four major classifications of leadership theory, also called research approaches used to explain leadership. And students, please understand, leadership theory classifications include trait, behavioral, contingency, and integrative. So a leadership paradigm is a shared mindset that represents a fundamental way of thinking about perceiving, studying, researching, and understanding leadership. And students, very important thing is the leadership paradigm has changed in the last 60 years. The major four major classification of leadership theory, all they represent a change in the leadership paradigm, right? So we'll try to understand what is this trait, the behavioral, the contingency, and integrative style of leadership, basically. So students, am I audible? Can anyone reply yes, sir? Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So shall I continue? Only small part is there.
Yes, sir. Continue.
Okay, then your interest is there. That's great, actually. Okay, first we'll try to understand the trade theory, and I will try to end it there. So next class we'll continue with the remaining theories. Okay. So now, a leadership paradigm is a shared mindset that represents a fundamental way of thinking about perceiving, studying, researching, and understanding the leadership. So the trade theory paradigm. Please see the era over there, that is 1930s to 40s. So this was early leadership, early leadership. Now, studies were based on the assumption that leaders are born, not made. I'm repeating once again, in this trade theory paradigm, the assumption was that the leaders are born, not made. So researchers wanted to identify a set of characteristics or traits that distinguished leaders from followers, or effective from ineffective leaders. So, leadership trait theories attempt to explain the distinctive characteristics accounting for leadership effectiveness. So, what happened in case of trait theory was they identified few traits of a leader. So, researchers analyzed physical and psychological traits or qualities. So, leaders were like high energy level, that is from 1930s to 40s. Leaders were having high energy level. Their appearance was very strong, aggressiveness was there, self-reliance. Then they were very dominant students. They were very dominant. Right? So the list of traits was to be used as a prerequisite for promoting the candidates to leadership position. I'm repeating once again. These were the list of traits. Which were the list of traits? Just now, that is high energy level should be there, appearance, aggressiveness, self-reliance, then dominance should be there. So the list of traits, they were used as a prerequisite for promoting the candidates to the leadership position. So only the candidates possessing all the identified traits would be given leadership position. So, however, no one has to come up with the universal list of traits that all successful leaders possess. On the positive side, although there is no list of traits that guarantees leadership success, traits that are related to leadership success have been identified. Right? So that was about the trait theory paradigm between 1930s and 40s. Then the next type was the behavioral leadership theory paradigm, that is in the year 1950s. See, by 1950s, most of the leadership research had changed its paradigm, going from trait theory to focusing on what the leader actually did on the job. That is behavior. They started concentrating more on the behavior of a leader. So behavioral leadership theories attempt to explain distinctive styles used by effective leaders. So Mintzberg 10 managerial roles are an example of behavioral leadership theory. So behavioral research focuses on finding ways to classify behavior that will facilitate our understandings of leadership. And students, please understand this, hundreds of studies or research examine the relationship between leadership behavior and measures of leadership effectiveness. So on the positive side, Mintzberg's leadership theory is widely used to train leaders. And other researchers did identify two generic dimensions of leaders' behavior, that is task and people-oriented leadership. So which have importance in accounting for leadership effectiveness. So behavioral leadership theories attempt to explain the distinctive styles used by effective leaders, or as to define the nature of their work. So the researchers identified two generic dimensions of leader behavior, that is task and the people-oriented leadership, which have importance in accounting for leadership effectiveness. Then we have the contingency leadership theory paradigm that was in 1960s. See, both the trait and behavioral leadership theories were attempts to find the one best leadership style in all the situations. Thus, they are called universal theories. In the 1960s, it became apparent that there is no one best leadership style in all the situations. Thus, the leadership paradigm shifted to contingency theory. Now, what do you mean by this contingency leadership style? Contingency leadership theories attempt to explain the appropriate leadership style based on the leader, followers, and situation. In other words, students, which traits or behaviors will result in leadership success given the situational variables. So the contingency theory paradigm emphasizes the importance of situational factors, including the nature of the work performed, the external environment, and the characteristics of followers. So basically, these contingency leadership theories, they attempt to explain the appropriate leadership style based on the leader, the follower, and the situation. And also it emphasizes the importance of situational factors, including the nature of the work performed, the external environment, and the characteristics of followers. Now, we'll try to understand the last type that was called integrative leadership theory paradigm that was in 1970s. Somewhere in the mid to late 1970s, the paradigm began to shift to the integrative. So what is that integrative leadership theories? It attempts to combine the trait, behavioral, and contingency theories to explain the successful influencing leader-follower relationships. So theories identify behaviors and traits that facilitate the leader's effectiveness and explore why the same behavior by the leader may have different effect on followers depending on the situation. So integrative leadership theories attempt to combine the trait, behavioral, and contingency theories to explain successful influencing leader-follower relationships. So these were the four important paradigms what we studied. The first one was the trait theory paradigm, and the second one was behavioral leadership theory paradigm, and then we studied contingency leadership theory paradigm, and last but not the least was integrative leadership theory paradigm, where leader used to have the participative style of leadership. And this is one of the most important part of this particular unit, understanding the leadership theory paradigms. Now, the last part of this particular unit, it was a very small unit, in fact, from the management to the leadership theory paradigm. Now, we'll try to understand, management to the leadership theory paradigm is a shift from the older autocratic management style to the newer participative style, leadership style of management. See, earlier, if you just know, the leaders were very autocratic management style. I mean, they were very dominant. So whatever they used to say, that has to be implemented. But today's leader, if you can see, they implement the participative style, participative leadership style of management. So they first ask opinion of the followers, whether this step, whatever I'm taking, is correct or no. So that's a participative style. So managers and leaders. The major difference between managers and leaders are like managers, they're doing things right, whereas leaders doing the right thing. Then managers, they're concerned about the best way to get the job done. whereas leaders is concerned about the innovation and the change. Then managers are like, formal position of authority, whereas leaders are concerned ability to influence others. So leadership responsibilities are transitioned from managers to team members. So it's like a more participative concept. Okay. So throughout this particular unit 1, what we have understood is several leadership theories and the concepts they are based on, and even the relationship between the leadership and the organizational success, as well as some of the difficulties and the challenges faced by the leaders. So understanding the theory and concepts is essential to going on to the next level of applying the theory. So just knowing is not enough, students. We must apply that. So however, a lot of research indicates that students are very weak in applying theory, that the leadership education needs to close the gap between the theory and the practical application. And the students need to be given an opportunity to practice using the theory. The third and the highest level objective of this particular thing is to develop the leadership skills among the students that can be used in the personal and professional life as a leader and follower. So organization students are investing substantial amount to develop the leadership skills of their employees globally today, because there are bottom line implications. As a cost savings, they are hiring people that they have leadership skills. So you can develop leadership skills through this particular subject. So Peter Drucker says that you need to develop leadership skills by doing. So all of the behavioral models which we have discussed, they provide specific step-by-step instructions, and they are labeled as models. So a major concern in today's organizational leadership training is the transfer of training to on-job application. As with just about everything in life, you cannot become skilled by simply reading or trying something once. So only practice and practice or experiences will make you perfect. Okay, so by this positive note, I will end today's session. So I hope all of you have understood the concepts, whatever we have discussed. So thank you once again, students, for your patience listening. I'll be ending the session.